There's one number that should stop you in your tracks right now. 5. That's how many fights on UFC 325's main card our model projects to not go to a decision. 5 fights, 5 someone's getting finished paths. And if you've been watching MMA long enough, you already know what that usually means. Either we're about to look like geniuses, or we're about to get reminded that MMA is the most disrespectful sport on earth. But that's exactly why this card is so interesting and why this video matters. Because UFC 325 isn't just Volk in Australia again and a bunch of fun matchups. This is the UFC trying to manufacture a moment in the Paramount Plus era, and it's fighters trying to manufacture a moment for their careers. A prospect who needs one violent round to become a name, a heavyweight brawler fighting the Grim Reaper of UFC momentum, a technical kickboxer trying to avoid a sniper, a veteran with miles on the odometer trying to survive a grappling tidal wave, and a champion whose entire legacy might depend on whether he can still outrun time. So in this video, we're doing the full model-based breakdown. For every fight, we're going to give you the winner, the outcome prediction, the round we think it finishes, and the single highest probabilistic value bet, the angle that best matches the cleanest version of the model's outcome tree. No fluff, no could go either way cop-out, just a professional prediction map with the reasoning behind it. And here's the best part. Even if you disagree with the picks, which is totally fair, you're going to walk away understanding the why. What each fighter must do to win, what breaks first, and what the most likely fight script looks like before the cage door even closes. Because once you can see the fight script, you're not gambling anymore, you're forecasting. And we're starting at the bottom of the main card, where the UFC quietly planted a trap. A local prospect against a local veteran in a fight where the first 5 minutes might decide everything. The first fight we're covering is Salkilld versus Mullarkey. And this matchup is a perfect example of the UFC's favorite storyline, the shiny new weapon versus the guy who's been taking shots long enough to know how to survive. This is the prospect with explosiveness versus the veteran with durability. And the model leans Salkilld, not by a little, by a very specific kind of advantage, front-loaded volatility. Meaning, if this fight ends early, it's because Salkilld did what he does. If the fight goes long, it's because Mullarkey dragged him into the part where MMA prospects tend to hate the most. Let's talk about why. On our weighted scorecard, Salkild's advantages are basically the early round cheat codes: speed, power, kicking diversity, aggression, and age. He's a fast starter finisher. His UFC wins don't look like 3 rounds of clean work. They look like sudden impact moments, head kicks, counters, blitz combinations where the other guy has a half second to respond before the lights go out. And Mullarkey's strengths are real, but they're slow build tools, experience, wrestling, endurance. That stuff matters a lot when fighters get gritty, extended, and ugly, but there's a problem. Historically, Mullarkey has struggled early when he's dealing with explosive strikers. He takes some damage before he settles in, and he's been finished multiple times in round 1. Now add in the context of short notice, where short notice replacements can win fights. It happens, but the cost is usually timing and reaction when they don't. And in a fight where the model is saying early volatility decides this, losing timing is basically paying the worst tax imaginable. So the model interpretation here is simple. If Mullarkey survives the first 5 minutes, this fight swings. But the model is not betting on him surviving those 5 minutes cleanly. The model is betting on the early chaos lane, which brings us to the pick. The winner is going to be Salkilld. The outcome, KO or TKO, and the round finish, I think, is going to be round 1. The highest probabilistic value bet, Salkilld inside the distance. Because it captures the exact story we're betting. Front-loaded finishing profile, explosive early advantage, and the veteran's best path requiring time he may not get. The next fight is heavyweight. Heavyweights don't do a volatile. Heavyweight does someone is going unconscious. So we move to Tuivasa versus Teixeira, and I'm going to say this as clearly as possible. This is a binary violence fight. Not chess, it's not who wins minutes, it's who lands clean first. And the model lean is towards Teixeira. We're predicting a KO, not going to a decision, and the best value angle here is going to be under 1.5 rounds. Because this fight is basically designed to end early whether we like it or not, let's break it down. This is a declining brawler against a long-range power prospect. Teixeira has the advantages the model cares about in this kind of matchup, which is length, youth, aggression, and cleaner range striking. Tuivasa still has real weapons, which are experience, boxing mechanics, and a slight speed edge when the fight gets close inside. But that's the entire issue. Tuivasa needs close range to win. Teixeira is dangerous specifically because you have to close range through danger. And the data points that matter here are brutal. Tuivasa has been stopped repeatedly at an elite level. His durability and defensive awareness have not been trending in a direction we want to bet on. Teixeira finishes quickly when he wins, and both fighters are high variance heavyweights. Meaning, neither guy is built to take 30 clean shots and then lose that decision, so the model interpretation is straightforward. Over time, younger, longer strikers beat aging pocket brawlers, especially when the pocket brawler has to cross a minefield to even reach the pocket. Now, could Tuivasa land a miracle punch? Of course. That's why he's dangerous. That's why the crowd loves him. And that's why heavyweight underdogs are never dead. But the model doesn't build a forecast around miracles. It builds around repeatable patterns. And the repeatable pattern is Teixeira lands first from range and Tuivasa's durability doesn't hold. So the pick is Teixeira, winner, outcome, KO, finish, or round 1. The best value bet, under 1.5 rounds. And here's why under 1.5 is so clean. It pays if Teixeira starches Tuivasa early, but it also pays if Tuivasa lands the miracle shot. It's a we know what this is type of bet, but here's the twist. The next fight is the opposite of heavyweight chaos. It's a sniper duel, and it's the kind of fight where one small mistake, not one big mistake, decides everything. Fiziev versus Ruffy. This is one of the most interesting matchups on the card because it's basically two different kinds of danger. The model lean is Fiziev. We're picking a KO here, but not immediately, potentially in round 2. Distance, not going there. And the best value angle here is the fight doesn't go the distance. Let's unpack why. This is an elite Muay Thai fighter versus a long-range counter sniper. Fiziev's advantages are the kind you only get from experience and actual fight IQ, and we tend to weight fight IQ more heavily on the scorecard. Kicking arsenal, clinch dominance, experience, endurance all lean in the favor of Fiziev. Ruffy's advantages are the terrifying ones: one-shot power and youth. Ruffy wins clean distance striking battles. He's most dangerous when the fight is at long range and the opponent is coming into his counters. Fiziev wins when he turns it into work, closes the gap, forces clinches, pressures the body, makes you fight at a rhythm you don't want. Now the data notes here matter. Fiziev doesn't lose to random guys. When he loses, it's to elite competition. Ruffy's struggle spots show up when he gets pressured and forced off rhythm. And historically, Fiziev's clinch and bodywork wear opponents down. This gives us a very clean fight script. If Fiziev fights Ruffy at long range and plays kickboxing chess from the outside, we're in danger. That's Ruffy's world. That's where the one-shot nickname becomes a real thing. But if Fiziev does what the model expects, close range, clinch pressure, bodywork, and forcing exchanges, Ruffy's defense deteriorates. And that's why the model calls for a late-ish finish. So our pick winner is Fiziev, outcome KO, round finish, round 2. The best value bet, fight doesn't go the distance because it captures both finish paths. Fiziev breaking Ruffy down and finishing, or Ruffy landing the sniper shot at any point. It's the perfect structural match for a fight where both guys have real finishing upside. Now we're heading into the co-main. And this is the fight where the narrative is going to bait a lot of people because the crowd is going to want Hooker to win. But the model is screaming one word: suffocation. Hooker versus Saint-Denis. The technical read here is the most brutal kind. This is a declining volume striker versus a rising pressure grappler. Saint-Denis has the exact advantages that break fighters like Hooker: grappling, wrestling offense, submissions, aggression, and youth. Hooker still has things you respect: experience, length, and what the model sees as his most reliable weapon, durability. Because Hooker's durability is the difference between a veteran upset and a career cliff. But here's the issue. Hooker's takedown defense has historically failed against elite grapplers, and Saint-Denis is exactly that style. Benoit Saint-Denis doesn't need to win a kickboxing match with Hooker. He doesn't need to out-jab him. He doesn't need to be cleaner on the feet. He needs to close the distance once. One clean clinch, one takedown, one top control sequence. And once Hooker starts carrying weight and defending grips, the fight changes. Because grappling pressure doesn't just threaten submissions, it takes your gas tank, it slows your reactions, and it forces mistakes. The data points back it up. Benoit Saint-Denis finishes when he establishes top control. Hooker slows under grappling pressure. So the model interpretation here is simple. Benoit Saint-Denis doesn't need to outstrike Hooker, he needs to suffocate him. Which brings us to the pick. The winner will be Saint-Denis, the outcome will be by submission, and the round finish prediction here is round 2. Best value bet is Benoit Saint-Denis inside the distance. Everything we've talked about so far is violence. Salkilld, early finish. Heavyweight, early finish. Fiziev, Ruffy, not seeing the cards, and Benoit Saint-Denis via submission. 4 straight fights that the model says end before the judges even wake up. And then we get the main event, where the model does something that makes people uncomfortable. It leans against the champion. And that's where the real story begins. Because the main event isn't just Volkanovski versus Lopes 2, it's time versus one of the smartest fighters to ever do it. And the reason the model leans slightly towards Lopes isn't because Volk forgot how to fight. It's because featherweight aging curves are brutal after 35, and Volk is now living in that danger zone. So let's reset the attention span with the forgotten detail. Volkanovski's only path here is a 5-round technical masterpiece. Lopes' only path is pressure and damage accumulation leading to a finish. It's a binary outcome tree. If Volk wins, it's decision. If Lopes wins, it's KO or TKO. And that makes the main event one of the cleanest hedged fights on the entire card, because the outcome split is so obvious. Let's break down why. Volk still has massive advantages: fight IQ, boxing, kicking, wrestling IQ, endurance, experience. If this fight becomes minutes and management, Volk can still win that game, because he's one of the best minute winners we've ever seen. But Lopes has the advantages that matter when a champion is aging: power, aggression, length, and age. And Lopes isn't trying to win minutes, he's trying to win moments. Now the data notes here are telling. Volk's speed edge defined the first fight, but Lopes was not deterred by Volk's volume. And more importantly, Volk's chin has shown cracks, and aging at featherweight tends to punish reflex-based defense. So the model interpretation becomes the most uncomfortable kind of truth. Volk's system still works until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it fails fast. That's why the model is going to lean slightly towards Lopes on the finish path. So here are the outputs clearly. The winner, Diego Lopes. A slight lean here. The outcome, TKO. Round finish, round 2. And the best value angle, this is the cleanest one on the card. A 2-way, Volk by decision or Lopes by KO. See if you can find that on your platform. Because it matches the exact outcome tree. Volk doesn't win by KO, Lopes doesn't win by decision. If you want to bet that respects both realities, that's the one. Now let's talk about what that result means in the big picture. For Volk, this is legacy, because if he wins by decision again, he proves he can still outrun time with IQ and pace. For Lopes, this is a crowning attempt. If he knocks Volk out, it's not just winning a belt, it's taking an era. And for us as bettors, this is a perfect example of professional forecasting. We don't need to pretend the champion is invincible, and we don't need to pretend the challenger is a guarantee. We just need the tree, and this tree is clean. So let's put the full model card on one sheet here. Salkilld versus Mullarkey. Winner is Salkilld, outcome is KO in round 1, and the best value is Salkilld inside the distance. Tuivasa versus Teixeira. Winner is Teixeira, round 1 KO, best value bet is under 1.5 rounds. Fiziev versus Ruffy. Winner is Fiziev. Outcome is KO. Round 2, best value bet is fight doesn't go the distance. Hooker versus Saint-Denis. The winner Saint-Denis via submission in round 2. Best value bet is Benoit Saint-Denis inside the distance. Volkanovski versus Lopes. Lopes is the winner. Outcome is KO or TKO. Finish is in round 2, and the best value here is the Volk decision or Lopes KO two-way bet. Now here's the recap. If our model is right, UFC 325 doesn't just have finishes, it has momentum flips. A prospect becomes a star in round 1. A hometown heavyweight gets put out or lands the miracle shot. A sniper gets pressured into mistakes. A fan favorite veteran gets drowned, and a champion either proves the laws of aging don't apply to him or gets replaced by the next era in brutal fashion. This card isn't built for decisions, it's built for headlines. And if we're right about the structure, it's built for the kind of betting slate where you don't need 10 bets, you need 5 clean angles that match the tree. So here's what I want you to do. Comment which of these fights you think breaks the model. Which one do you think sneaks to a decision? Which one do you think flips the winner? Which one do you think does the opposite of what the data says? Because if we're being honest, MMA always tries to humble us. But when you have a system, you don't need perfection. You need repeatability. And that's exactly what we're building. UFC 325 isn't just a card, it's a test, and we're walking into it with a map. And one way or another, somebody's leaving Sydney with a belt, and somebody's leaving with their lights turned off. See you on the next one.